right, let's go. Hello, my name is Scott Hampton. I'm from Visalia, California, in the Central Valley between Bakersfield and Fresno, and just west of Sequoia National Park. If you're familiar with California at all, you might know where I'm at. Somewhere in the agricultural area, and I got a beautiful view of the Sierras right that way east of me. So very nice, very nice. So this is the blank we're going to use. I had it all glued up. This is a piece of black walnut. This is a piece of maple. Not really worried about the maple so much because we're going to paint that in a little while. That'll be the second half of our demo. So I'm going to take these out of the clamps. And we will we'll put a center hole in there for the, I'll let go. How can it possibly have done that? There we go. One more. It's been sitting overnight, so it should be good and dry. So let me get these clamps out of the way. And we're going to drill a hole. I've already got that marked. And I already measured the distance between the jaws and the end of my screw center here. I don't want to go deep down in there, so there's always the thread goes a little bit deeper down in those jaws. You don't really need to go that far. And I will probably, I don't think I need a spacer right now. That's going to be for the lid. That's the one thing I need the bandsaw for, is to cut the piece of the lid. But if I can't get the camera going, you guys can listen to me as I do it, I guess. So here's my drill. It's a 3/8 inch bit, brad point. And I've got a center hole right there. I use the center punch to create that. And I'm just going to get this as parallel as I can, straight down into the piece here. It's going to be very careful. Am I going the right way? Yes, I was. Walnut's just a little tough. Been sitting outside in my wood pile for probably a couple years. There we go. So it's a little dry and a little tough, but we'll get through it. All right, so where I left off, I drilled the hole. Now I'm going to lubricate those threads with some beeswax here. This is like a cream beeswax. Been using this same jar for like 10 years. Tells you how much I use it as a finish, right? The only thing I use it for is to do this. And it's about half empty now, but it doesn't go bad. All right, so let me grab a paper towel. I don't want all that wax all over my fingers.
So you've never explained why you do that.
Oh, this? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, well, sometimes, well, it happens a lot more than you think. When you're turning, when you screw something onto your screw center and you're turning it, it's constantly tightening up, tightening up, tightening up, tightening up. And sometimes if there's no lubrication on there, it gets so tight that it's almost impossible to get the screw center out of there without, and you end up having to take the whole thing out of the chuck with the screw center and the blank. You got to get a wrench and you got to kind of crank it and everything to get everything loose. Well, this lubricating that prevents that. So that's why I do that. So I'm just going to start it going here. And I'll lock my spindle on my lathe here, and we'll just keep on cranking till the jaws are seated tightly against the top of the blank. You don't want any gaps in between there. That's very important. That adds a lot of support while you're turning it. And if there's gaps in there, you can get some vibration, some wobble, maybe even some slippage while you're turning it. There we go, good and tight. And like I said, it's going to tighten up as I turn it. So you got some very, very small cracks in there. I just cut this blank yesterday, but there's very, very small checking. Must have been a little bit of moisture still in this blank. That's all right. We're going to turn That's all going to disappear as I turn it. So let me grab my tool rest here. All right. And the first thing I want to do is just true this up along the rim right here. So I'm going to switch to 3 cameras. Usually that's a good view of everything, front, top, and you can see my tool work down here in this bottom right. On my end, this bottom right camera right here. So,
Okay.
And I'm just checking to see if this glue up is good. There's no gaps in between the woods. Yep, I clamped it really well. There's a small gap here, but I don't think it's anything to worry about because a lot of this is going to disappear. There's not going to be very much left of this when we get to the other side. So, all right, so let me grab my bowl gouge, my freshly ground bowl gouge. This is a 5/8 bowl gouge, sweat back grind, and I'm just going to bring it in. I'm going to explain how my terminology for this. When you see the flute up, I call that 12 o'clock. When it's towards the heads or the tailstock, I call that 3 o'clock. And when it goes towards the headstock, that's 9 o'clock, 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m. So like if I say 45 degrees, or if I'm at 45 degrees, I'll say 10:30. Same thing here, I'll say 1:30 if I'm 45 degrees towards the tailstock, or 10 o'clock or whatever angle I'm doing. That's better than trying to say, oh, I'm at 37 degrees, the flute's at 37 or 46 or something. It's easier just to use the terminology of a clock. At least that's what I have found anyway. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to slide my headstock over just a little bit to get it a little more centered into the picture. You guys have a better view of the form taking place. There we go. All right, so always when you turn on your lathe, always have it down at 0 for speed. You never know how a blank is going to react, so you want to stand to the side, especially a glued up blank. You want to slowly bring it up. And I'll probably start at about 800 RPMs here and see how the cut goes. Seems to be running a little well. It's a little wobbly there. Kind of suspected that because it is a glue up. And so that's why we're going to finish this part, the flat part here first. And then we'll come to the bottom here and we're going to flatten that off. Just get everything balanced so there's a lot less vibration. And I might bring up my tail center. Pardon?
Do you use an end stock at all when you glue up?
You can. In fact, let me bring that up just so you guys can see that. It's also a safety thing. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And it also helps cut down on vibration. There's not as much vibration if you bring the tailstock up. This is a live center, as you can see.
Yep.
Those little threads moving around there. There's also dead centers where it doesn't move at all. You lubricate it with wax and it's just a round disc similar to, this is a live center too, but a dead center has the same kind of ring as this, but it wouldn't move like this one does. It would just stay still and you would lubricate this edge right here with wax. And that's how it would spin on the lathe. That's going back quite a few years before they came up with the idea of live centers. So when I started, I was using a dead center. I started wood turning on my shopsmith. And I used to use a dead center all the time, but thankfully for modern conveniences. So. All right, so the tool, the flute is going to be at 130. And we're just going to bring it in and just take a nice easy cut first just to see how it's going to react. So it's a little bit out. So I'm going to grab me a heavier tool, my 3/4 inch bowl gouge. it won't jump around as much and it dampens the vibration a bit more. So we'll do that same angle. There we go. That's much better than that smaller tool. And I've got, if you look in that bottom corner, right corner, you'll see I have the handle in my hip on my side right here. And I'm leaning back a little bit on my left foot. And as I make the cut, I lean forward. It gives a more precise cut than using flaring your arms around, and you won't get as tired either. It's much easier on the back if you just move back and forth like this. And I'm just curious how all this is going to play out. I could tell there is some moisture in that maple just by the way it's cutting and the shavings coming off. And we're just going to do one more pass. I'm going to start right about here and work my way down. As I can see just a little bit, the maple's still a little bit off. The walnut's looking good though. So I'm going to, instead of wasting a bunch of that walnut right now, I'm just going to start back here. And I'm watching the horizon on the top here. That's where I'm watching the cut take place. I get the cut started and then I look at the horizon, and that tells me how deep I'm going. If I'm bringing the tool, if I'm twisting away from the lathe this way, I'm losing the cut. And if I bring my waist this way, the cut goes deeper. It's sort of like a steering wheel type of thing. So you can adjust how deep you go. I'll show that. I'm going to push towards my hip towards me a little bit and see it goes a little bit deeper. And if I swing back towards the headstock, the cut comes lighter, just like that. I'm going to come back and pick that back up again, clean this all up. There we go. And right now, the way it's acting, I'm just leaning forward. I'm getting a straight on cut. Just nice and slow. This isn't a race. And I want to point the part of the tool I'm cutting with is just right here, just beyond the point of the tool, not on the nose, just past that area right there is where I'm getting the best cut for this. So that looks pretty nice and even. I'm just going to touch it with my lathe here, see how smooth it is. Okay, it's still a little out right there, so I can feel that. So I'm just going to pick up a cut right here by starting the bevel rubbing, and then I'm going to move my hip over until I pick up a cut. And we're just going to take it across the surface here. This is all just to get everything in balance so everything's not vibrating as much, and you get much cleaner cuts that way. See, that's much cleaner. So I'm going to turn off the lathe just to check. Make sure I got everything. See, those little cracks are starting to disappear. If they don't, I don't think there's anything to worry about as far as the piece coming apart. These are just very small moisture cracks, and the paint will fill those up if anything. So, all right, that's good there. So now what we want to do is we want to bring your tool rest around, and we're going to do a nice little push cut towards the pedal center there. So I'm going to try using the smaller tool for this. I can get back down in here and it's going to be easier to handle. I need to drop the tool rest a little bit here. So I need to have that. The point of the tool should be at center, right there. When your tool handle is parallel to the floor, the nose of your tool of the flute should be at center or just a little bit above. Right. So I'm just double checking that. That's good. So I'm just going to do a nice, slow, easy cut, same angle, 130. Same type of thing. If I move my hip out, I'm gonna lose the cut. If I bring my hip towards the lathe, I'm gonna dig into the blank. So we just want a nice steady cut here. Little pile up of shavings. This wood is cutting beautifully, by the way. So I'm getting to where the wood is running a little slower and it's a little bit more out of round a little bit. So I'm just gonna come in here. You can hear the difference in the cut as I get closer to the center there. When I get to solid wood, and you'll be able to tell the difference once you get in there. So I'm just backing up and picking up a cut as I go. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna come back here and just do a complete cut all the way down. This is just all in preparation. So my tool isn't acting right, so I gotta adjust the angle of it a little bit. There we go. Just twist the tool a little bit. And then I'm just gonna do a draw cut across the surface to clean up those tool marks. And also I'm gonna get rid of that really sharp edge right here, because that is like a toothless saw. It can cut you to the bone if you're not careful. If your hand slides into that, it's worse. It's a lot worse than a paper cut, I'll tell you. All right, so we've got that all nice and balanced now. So what we want to do is create a tenon on the bottom of this, and we're going to reverse turn it later using a vacuum chuck, one of my favorite toys in the shop. And move a couple tools out of the way, so I'm not knocking them on the floor or anything. That in the right spot. I'm going to back the tail stock up. So I need to mark where that tenon is. I should get rid of that bump right there anyway. So I'm going to grab that little tool again just to get rid of that ugly little thing in the center. Using a push cut. Just get everything all leveled out. So the tool rest is a little lower. So I'm gonna want to get that center part out of there. There we go. So my jaw's on here. It's a Big Mark chuck. And I want to create a tenon that's just a little bit bigger of what the jaws would be if they're closed all the way. You want a little bit of a gap like that they are right now when you create the tenon, maybe even a little smaller gap than that to make a good exact circle. If it's closed all the way, clamped all the way, it's not exactly a circle anymore because there is a saw curve cut into these when they make them. First they're cast and then they're cut. So if you open them up just a little bit, that's where you get the exact circle. And that's 1 5/8 inch for these jaws. So I want to find that. If you guys can see that on camera. So what I'm doing is I'm just starting at 4. And it's just shy of 1 3/4, just a little bit. It's just 1 notch, 1/16 of an inch bigger than 1 5/8. So I'll probably make the tenon a little bigger than that. But when you do this, you don't want to, you're going to put this point that's closest to you into the wood, but not the furthest one because it can grab and flip back. This is just a marking. This is just to watch where that line is to make sure they all both match up. I always start closer to the center and work my way out until I find that nice little mark. just gonna bring it out just a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna mark that with a pencil real quick so you guys can see that. Show up on camera a bit better. So that's gonna be the size of my tenon. Get some of this stuff out of the way. I'm gonna grab me my parting tool. Cut a groove down in there. Where are you, parting tool? Are you on the other side of my rack? Yes, you are. And you want to make sure the tool rest is far back enough to where you're not riding the bevel when you're using the parting tool. You want the point to be on center. That's good. Now you're going to cut the groove on the outside of that pencil mark like this. Just go straight in for right now. We're going to make a dovetail out of it in a moment once we get a lot of this wood cleared out of the way. One more pass here. And now I'm just going to grab my small ruler. Oh, it's not there. I will grab this instead. I left my little ruler. Oh, here we go. Here's one. So I want to go about 3/8. If you go half an inch or deeper, your tenon is going to bottom out in the bottom of your jaws. And then it's not going to seat right. Let's see, I'm trying to find half an inch. This ruler is kind of, okay, this is better. So that's a half an inch. No, that's millimeters, huh? Grab me my other ruler here. I'm gonna scan out of this so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better here. My bait. Oh, can't see it. Okay, so what I'm doing is just measuring a depth gauge here. I'm just going to stop at 3/8. There we go. Tighten that down. And I can bring this up and see how deep I've gotten. Still got a little ways to go. Just double checking that measurement. Make sure it's not beyond half an inch, that's for sure. That's the important part. So I can go a little bit deeper with the parting tool and then check that one more time. Couple small passes here. We'll just kind of sneak up on it because we don't want to go beyond that half inch. Right, so you're just almost there. So this should do it. All right, you're bottoming out right there. You're right, close enough. I don't want to go any further because I'm afraid I'm going to go past that half inch mark and I don't want to do that. So, all right, so what I want to do is I'm just going to take this wood down flat to the level of the tenon right now. So I'm going to grab me my 5/8 bowl gouge again, and we're just going to work our way doing push cuts. So I'm going to show you a different way of doing push cuts. Instead of coming in from this way, I'm just going to work my way down doing steps using the bevel right here, the side grind there. So towards the headstock, the tool is almost closed, but not quite. I can turn up the lathe a little bit faster now that everything's balanced. We're just going to work our way down. I'm getting beautiful shavings, as you can see on the camera. I like it when this is what makes, for me, part of the fun of wood turning is getting all these beautiful shavings coming off a piece of wood. Look at all that. Cool. All right, one more pass. See how fast that went. Didn't take long at all to get down to that level. And then I'm just going to do a full cut back towards me just to flatten everything out. And I'm just going to come back in here and just soften that little corner again so I don't get cut on it. All right, so now we need to make this a dovetail shape. So I'm going to grab me a spindle gouge to do that. Just a small detail gouge here. Now you just bring it in. You need to raise up the tool rest because it's so small. You want that point on center. There. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna grab my parting tool again. Where did I put it? Can I put it on the back side again? Yes. I'm gonna put a little bit of a divot right here in the center so I don't lose it later in case I need it. Drop my tool rest a little bit. When I reverse it, I'll have a center mark for my tool rest or for my tail center. All right, back to this. Raise this back up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to almost close. I'm just going to pick up a very small cut here. And I'm just going to make a dovetail shape. So you don't want to start taking anything off here. You just want to start the cut in here because you don't want to make this smaller outside of here. And I just brought this in, a little vibration. I'm going to bring in another tool to finish that off. It's a small parting tool that comes with pin kits, but I ground it on an angle like a skew. So this allows me to bring the tool in. And when this flat part of the grind right here is hitting the bottom, it's going to create a nice hard corner for the jaws to rest on. Want a nice flat area here, so I'm going to bring in my parting tool one more time and just kind of create a flat coming out. And then I'm going to grab that little tool again, make sure the angle is right. If you flip it over, you're going to make a wrong cut. Then we just want a nice flat area for the top of the jaws to rest on. So I'm following that dovetail straight down in there. And it's created a nice sharp corner for the jaws to attach it to. You don't want any little bumps or anything in that little corner right here. It's kind of hard to see it. Point at that one right here. In that upper right corner camera. There is the sharp corner that you need. You don't want a little bit of a bump or anything right there, or the jaws aren't going to seat correctly. It's going to cause you a problem. It's not going to sit flat against the face of the jaws. I'm also going to clean up this little bit of an edge here. Just going to round this part over a little bit. That way there's no sharp edge of the wood grabbing into the jaws on the inside of the jaws. There we go. So now we can start shaping the bottom. So I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to mark where that flat is because we don't want to go all the way up there. So I'm going to leave enough of a flat right here for the jaws to rest on. Now I'm just going to start shaping the bottom of this. And you're going to see what kind of a, are you the right tool? I'm looking for the right tool here. There you are. Okay. Back to the 5/8. And I'm going to start just taking away from the corner. And I'll move my towel rest as I need to get the shape I'm looking for. So the tool is almost closed and I'm doing pull cuts. I'm going to go closer to that line down there, right up to it, making a nice round shape. That's as far as I want to go for that. So I want to adjust my tool rest back around this way. And I'm going to swing my body around closer to the headstock, almost up against it. Flute almost closed. And I want to come up about halfway with this shape. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. Let me grab a ruler just so I know. Should be 3 inches deep. It started as a 3-inch deep blank, but with the 10 in there, now it's 2.5, just shy, being more than 2.5 inches. It's all right. So we are, I would just call that 2.5, so 1.25. So that's about, I'm eyeballing that kind of just to get an idea. I'm just going to draw a line all the way around so I know where to in that curve. And then the rest of that curve is going to be done on the front side. So we're just doing some pull cuts. Now I'm going to swing the tool around here and I'm going to do a push cut. I want to make sure I can get my tool handle all the way around past my headstock. So just for this part, I'm going to need to move my headstock away from, back away, so you're not really going to see anything on this camera. I'm going to slide this back this way until I got enough room to swing that tool handle past the headstock or the tail center here, tailstock. Take the tail center out so I don't bump into it. I'm good. All right. So a push cut's going to give you a much cleaner cut than the, you drop the tool, rest a little bit. There we go. So I'm just going to bring it in this way. I'm going to pick up a cut. This is when I'm not using my body so much as far as holding the handle in here, because you can't do that. But I'm still going to lean back with the cut. I'm not going to move my arms too much. I'm just going to lean back and follow that curve as much as I can, and then I'll readjust and finish that cut. So I'm going to, I had the tool just a little bit too much angled into the wood and it skipped on me here. So I'm just going to bring the tool around, grab that bevel and just kind of float the bevel across that surface as we make the cut. Follow that curve we made previously up to that line. So now I need to adjust my body. So I lost that cut. So I was at the wrong angle and it's normal for it to happen. So I want to pick this up. There we go. Again, I'm leaning back. I'm putting all my weight on my left foot right now. And we'll see what kind of a cut. That gets rid of a lot of that, what's called tear out in the end grain. That's really cleans it up a lot. So we still got a little bit of tear out right here. nothing the sandpaper can't get out. So we're gonna stop there. And we're gonna reverse the bowl. We're gonna put it in, use the tenon. Grab a wrench. Hold on to this. Lock it. There we go. And kind of, there we go. It's a little tight, but that having that wax on there really helps keeping everything easy to get off. And don't worry about the wax on the surface here. We can just wipe that away. That's all going to be cut away. There we go. Grab a piece of paper towel just to get rid of that extra wax there so it's not come flying out, splattering everywhere when I turn the lathe back on. All right. Take the screw chuck out. Like that. That's how it's held in. The jaws just sit right in this groove right here when you close them down. Keeps it from tossing around and things. So you want to find that little hole there. We're going to close these. Don't tell me I made it 10 and too small. No, I did not. Well, I guess I'm going to have to use my other chuck. They're a little dirty from a project I was doing over the week. I was making some tool handles for some leather workers. There we go. These will hold just fine. And I'm just checking to make sure the jaws are flat, completely flat. Against the, okay, a little bit of a gap there. So I'm going to loosen them up a little bit and just rotate the blank a little bit in the jaws and retighten. All right. Whenever you make a tenon, sometimes the whole thing will go out of balance or off center just a little bit, which this has done. Partly because it's kind of a damp wood I'm using. We'll clean all that up with our final cuts. All right, so now we need to come in here and just putting stuff away so it's out of my way. So now we're going to start working on this area. I'm not sure how many of you guys saw the picture of what I'm making. It should have been in my ad. But this is like the walnut's just going to be a place down where the lid's going to fit down into. So a lot of this walnut, I'm going to take away a whole bunch of this when we did the inside of this bowl. Plus some of the outside is going to be kind of like on an angle here. So that's what I'm going to work on first, is creating that angle. First, I want to true up the face. There's some superficial cracking here, but I can see this just goes down to here. All right, so it is out around a little bit, so I'm going to bring the tailstock back up. I'm going to true everything back up again. That happens sometimes when you make a tenon and you reverse it, and then it's like, oh, it's not running true anymore. What the heck, you know? So I'll bring this up, and I'm just going to re-true everything on this part of it. All right. So just like before when we started, we're just going to clean this up. You can hear the vibration maybe a little bit on the lathe. Not quite sure. I'm just going to clean this up and get rid of that vibration, get everything balanced again. Same kind of cut. It's a little faster this time. Okay, so now we're gonna move the tail center and we're gonna clean up that face. It's kind of wobbling around a little bit. This side of the wood wasn't exactly straight. It had kind of a little curve in it. The bottom part is nice and flat. You can see there's just a slight gap, but I believe it didn't wobble or anything when I tested it for the glue. But it's just going to be just a little bit holding as far as needing. Why is it wobbling like that? It should not be wobbling quite like that. I'm going to check my chuck here. Looks like the chuck might be wobbling a little bit. Yes, it is. And it shouldn't be. That's the problem with one ways. Sometimes if you don't have the insert in there right, it's gonna go wacky on you a little bit. So I'm just gonna give it a little. Just turn it on just to check.
Yep.
So this is running pretty true, so I just need to clean that part up. All right, we're back going. So I'm just gonna work on this part, get it trued up again. I'm just gonna work through this really quick. I'm sure you guys saw me do this earlier. I'm just gonna leave it in the chuck jaws there. Just kind of do this really quick. Oh, I don't need it that fast, damn. So the next thing I need to fix is the speedometer or the speed control on this thing. I'm just truing up the face now. Oh, it's not good. All right, let me go back to 3 cameras. All right, so you guys can see what I'm doing there. So I'm just cleaning up the surface here. Get rid of that little really sharp edge, like I like to do. All right, so now I need to just start shaping this area right in here. So I need to take a bit of this walnut down to the maple first. So I'm going to grab me my 5/8 to do this. And I need to erase the tool rest. There we go. Okay, we're good. So we're just going to start shaping this area here. The walnut's going to go in. Both of these areas are going to kind of work their way inward towards the middle. So I got the tool at 1030, flute angle. And now I'm turning it to 130 and I'm working my way towards the walnut there. And we're just gonna work on the shapes here, get everything running true again. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm creating a dovetail shape on the walnut. You can see. Pretty sure you guys can see that on the camera there. Yeah. I need to take a bit of this down a bit more. One more pass, and then we'll work on the maple. Down, down, down. Now we'll just start taking it away. Turn the tool back over to 130. tool is getting a bit dull, so I'm going to switch. And this one will help me get down down inside here better than that larger tool. Stop the lathe just to see what it's looking like. Block right there, so I need this to come in this way a little bit better. I'm gonna grab me a larger tool here just to get down in there. I'm gonna grab a detail gouge. It's got a longer bevel on it, so I can get just right down in here. See how long that bevel is right there. It allows you to get down in these little hard to reach places. We'll see how it came out here. I'm just trying to get wood taken away. Okay, because it's running out of true a little bit still. It's not cutting the walnut right there nice and sharp. So I need to get down in here with this tool. Remove some of that walnut. See what it's doing here. So I need to clean up this area here. So I'm going to do this a bit more. I don't need that much of this. Got to be a lot smaller to the diameter. Not super smaller, but enough. So the bowl itself is larger here than the walnut is. So now I'm just cleaning the shape up a bit. Bring it round. So there's a flat right here in the center. So I want to just bring that around this way and then ease out of the cut. I'll clean that up in a minute. Kind of skipped into the walnut there. I'm just looking at the horizon of the piece right here. Let's make sure we've got a even curve. So we need to take a little more off this direction. Not a lot. We just want to get those bottom and top curves matching. That's looking good. So now I just need to work on this joint here. So you can see it's kind of, I need to take more walnut off right here. But before I do that, I need to take this part of the whole walnut thing down a little bit because it's sitting too tall this way. I'm just going to do some push cuts in towards the headstock using a large 3/4 inch bowl gouge. I'm just going to come in here and do push cuts with the flute almost closed. Light cuts. We don't need to do heavy cuts. We don't want this to come out of the cut. Woo. Why it's vibrating like that? Let's check. Make sure my headstock is tightened up. Yeah, okay. All right, just a little bit more off of that. What? Jeez.
You're good.
What? Oh no, it's the. Seems like everything's vibrating all of a sudden here. No, the lathe's good on the ground. Whoa. Okay. I see what happened. Came loose out of the chuck a little bit. Kind of wiggled itself out of there. Crank it down a little bit tighter. It's a little bit better. Time I tighten it though, everything goes wacky again. Just gonna tree this up. Oh, that's not a bowl gouge. That's my detail gouge. And we'll see how that joint looks. No matter what I do, I can't get that anything to straighten out there. So strange. A little better. All right, so I'm just going to clean this up. There's still a little bit of glue residue right in this area. I don't know why. And I'm just going to grab this large bowl gouge and I'm just going to true everything up with some shear cutting. So that's on point. Yep. So I'm just going to do some draw cuts from the bottom out. I'm going to drop the handle a bit, do a shear cut or shear scrape. Just gets rid of a lot of the tool marks you might be dealing with. Just drop the tool handle way down and just about close the flute all the way. It sort of acts like when you get in this position, it sort of acts like a skew chisel would on a spindle gouge when you're making spindle work. Same thing going the other direction. And this will clean up a lot of those little grooves and valleys left behind from the roughing. There's a little bit of a valley right there I need to get rid of. You see that just because it creates a little darker line. It's harder to tell the bumps than it is the valleys. So you want to stop the lathe. Just feel it a little bit. Okay, the backside still needs some work, but we're almost there. There's some tear out here. We'll get that all cleaned up in a moment. So we switched chucks so much that we need to this thing went out of balance a lot. It's not all trued up. All right, so I'm going to grab a smaller bolt gouge here. I'm just going to do a push cut down into this. Just going to clean it up that way. So I'm going to put my tool on my side, pick up that cut, and I'm just going to swing myself around while doing a push cut this way, much as I can get down in there. And these are just cleanup cuts now on the back side. All right, that's looking better. We do have some tear out there. So we'll see if we can get rid of that by shear cutting with the smaller tool. We don't want to have to paint into the tear out. All right, that did a really good job of getting rid of a lot of that tear out. It's a little bit right here, so I'm just gonna, not much more. You see how fine those shavings coming off the tool are when you do a shear cut. Doesn't take much wood off, but it really helps clean up tear out and things like that. Get rid of tool marks. Let's see here. All right, some 180 sandpaper real quick on that. Then we'll start doing the inside. First, I want to kind of clean this area up if I can, just a little bit where the walnut is. I'd rather have that. All right, grab some 180 sandpaper. That is 400. That won't do me any good. 180. There you are. And this just is going to smooth it out for the painting we're going to do in a little bit. Turn down your lathe while you're sanding. Almost forgot. Should have done just a little bit more. It's a little bit still too fast. Feels like the sand, there it goes. Sandpaper was just kind of skipping over the wood instead of sanding the wood. You can always tell by the amount of dust you're getting off the piece. I'm just going to sand this part of the walnut. We'll see how it all looks here. All right, it's looking good. It's a little bit of roughness right there, so I'm just going to try to get rid of some of that. Smoother the surface to begin with, the better off it is when you're painting. Okay, I got rid of that. Now we need to do the inside. Time is it? Okay, we're doing all right. We'll get the inside done, then we'll take a break while I set up for the painting. Over there on my work table. First thing I need is my parting tool. I need to create a groove down into the maple, following the same shape, the dovetail shape on the outside. So you can see there's like a dovetail angle. So I want to bring in the tool and do the same shape. Just follow it along. Don't want to go that way. We want to go this way. Get the speed up a little bit there. And just by eye, just create a, we can adjust as we go. We'll just open up that groove, go back and forth. That way the tool doesn't get jammed in the curve. And when it turns white, we know we're deep enough. There we go. Finally hit maple. All right. I'll clean that up a little bit. We'll clean that cut up with the bowl gouge in a few minutes. Let's grab 5/8 bowl gouge again. I might have to sharpen it. We'll see how the first cuts go. So I need to move my headstock back again. It's not enough room. And you can't see what I'm doing over here anyway, so I'm just going to switch cameras to this. I'm going to slide this back a bit. I just want to make sure I got enough swinging room and I'm not going to bump into anything. That should do it. Right. Make sure the point is on level on the corner. We need to raise up the tool rest just a little bit. I need to grab me a drink of water. I'm getting cotton mouth. Yeah. All right, so we're just going to start like any other bowl. We're just going to start in the center and we're just going to peel this away. We're also going to undercut the inside using a small carbide cutter made by Hunter Tools. It's not like Easy Wood Tools carbide. This is, I'll show you in a minute. It's like a cupped cutter. It's more of a slicing tool than a scraping tool. We're just going to bring the tool around. We're going to start it with the flute just about closed. And once the cut starts, you can open that flute up a little bit until you find that nice little sweet spot. The cutting angle that works the best with this tool. The reason why I skated back is I didn't have the flute closed enough. And I tried to start to cut this way. It tends to start wanting to skate back on you. Oh, I just lost the tenon. All right. Oh, this ain't going really well today. Yeah, I just lost the tenon on it.
Oh,
Let me see here. It's salvageable. I can fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new tenon on the bottom real quick. So if you guys want to take a break, yeah, that's crazy. I felt a vibration and then it just popped out. You can see the tenon inside the chuck.
well, if it being side grain and you really clamp down on that tenon, pinched it.
Yeah, probably too much. So I'm going to make a new tenon that fits in that. It's in my Vic Mark chuck instead of using this one. My Vic Mark does not wobble at all. Where'd you go, Vic Mark? So this will go kind of quick. I'm just going to double check my measurements here. I don't know why this came out that way. It's like when I was measuring the tenon last time, I guess my calipers moved or something. There we go. Stay tight. Hang those, set those right there. Put the screw center back in this. Wow, I didn't see that coming. But at least there's still threads in the top. I didn't get that walnut completely out. As you can see, we probably managed to get it up in there and see what happens. So let's try this. Boy, this has just been a fluffer. It started out good. I felt good. My goodness, what a day. Got plenty of sleep. Like, it's crazy. A little bit of that B lubricant on here. Last time. It doesn't take much. Crazy. What a day.
Take your time.
Yeah, I gotta take a breath,
Slow
I
down.
think.
Yep. You need to
Yep. Take a breath.
jump up and down, shake it out.
Let me get this
Taylor
on here
Swift
first.
on and you'll be all right. Here, that's what the kids do.
Oh, there's plenty of thread. Yeah, good. It's gonna grab it really well. Still, a lot enough. I was worried it was gonna not be enough, but there's plenty. That area is still good and flat. I didn't cut into that flat area yet. All right, it's just gonna be a more of a skimpier bowl, but that's all right. So, lower my tool rest just a little bit. I'm just gonna mark that with a pencil, just so I know I'm on center. I don't want anything else to go wrong. So I know I got my point of my tool at the right position there. Okay. Yo. That's the reason why you never stand in front of the tool. You always stand to the side as much as you can when you're wood turning. Because I was over here when it came off doing the work. I'm not over here right in front of anything. I try to stand to the side as much as possible. The walnut broke here, but there's enough left over. We can take some of that down and it'll look just fine. So I'm just going to clean this up area first. Then we will make a new tenon. And I suspected it was going to wobble just a little bit because the other chuck was wobbling a little bit, but this one is running true. So everything will get trued back up as we fix everything. And you guys are going to have a story to tell at the symposium. Did you see Hampton's demo last Saturday? Jesus Christ. All right, so that's cleaned off. I can also make a recess. That might work. I wonder if I should make a recess. What do you think, Dane? Recess or tenon? Oh, where'd he go?
Sorry. Say it again.
Oh, I was wondering, you think I should do a recess or a tenon?
I'd do a recess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
As long as you're not in a glue joint, you should be fine.
Yeah, no, it's going to be on the bottom here.
Yeah,
so I need to
do
take
a recess. And then you only need to go in, no more than 3/16 of an inch for your recess.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to save me wood instead of making a whole nother tenon way down here.
Right.
And
Yep.
losing a lot of this stuff.
Correct.
All right, so I want to double check the measurement of what the recess would be on this truck.
Vicmar VM 120, so you want to be about a 2 1/4.
2 1/4, you think?
I think so, but go ahead and double check. But
yeah, the way things are going today, I think I should.
Right.
So I'm just close it down here. Let's see here. Let's see what it is. Oh, this one is 2 1/2.
Oh, okay, so 2 5/8.
Yeah, That's what it is, 2 5/8.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me adjust my calipers so we can get that right. All right. Where are those calipers at? 2 5/8. Gotta remember 2 5/8.
Oh, now I know why I'm saying 2 1/4. I marked mine off at 2 1/4, and then my parting tool, the
Oh,
width,
takes it
the
off the
double width
rest of
on,
it.
right. Yeah. Takes it off
You
on
know
both
what?
walls.
Yeah, that's a good idea to do that. That makes sense. So I'm going to do the same thing you just said. Mark it at 2 1/2, and then use my parting tool to just make it that little touch bigger.
Yep.
The
And
size of my part.
and it's a perfect circle when you're expanding into it.
Yep,
You got full
that's what you
contact.
want.
Yep.
That's what you want in a recess, especially in a recess. Darn, these things. I'm going to switch calipers. These keep moving on me for some reason.
I know. If you don't get a new set of calipers, I'm going to send you a new set.
I've got like 3 of them. That one this one's fine. The one I'm using right now is okay.
Yeah,
So
one set you toss.
my one good set is that my heavy duty one, for some reason they're screwed up now. It won't stay tight all the time.
Right.
I think that's what happened why my tendon kind of went, or
Wonky
my
on you.
tendon was too well, it's too small because my calipers I think moved.
Right.
All right. 2, I'm just gonna double check. Doesn't hurt. Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah.
All right. 2
Yeah, I was
1/2. All right.
Yeah, I was practicing my carpenter skills last night when I was turning something, and I turned it 3 times and it was still too small.
Oh man.
Like a carpenter, cut it 3 times and it was still too short.
Yeah. Everybody's probably going, grief. He's 2 hours in and we haven't even got to the painting yet. Don't worry, we will.
Just shows everybody has
They have their
problems
days.
that arise. I mean, it happens to everybody,
All right, that's
whether
good.
they want to admit it or not.
It's going to wobble just a little bit. That's going to be normal. Bring that up. See if I got a big enough flat area here. Need to flatten that out just a little bit more. Bring this out. That should do it. Yep. Raise my full wrist a little bit. That's on center. All right.
Take 2.
Yeah. All right.
This is also good to show how you recover.
Mm-hmm.
Lately I've been doing that a lot. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right, parting tool, come here.
All right.
All
Did you
right.
measure? Now, did you double check to make sure that that's doing it?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna check that pencil mark.
It's looking a little big to me.
Really? No, it's 2 1/2.
Okay.
1,
on.
2 1/2.
All right.
Right on 2 1/2.
All right.
Yep. Just a hair over, which is what I want. So.
Okay. Right on.
The way things are going, that was a good idea to double check it, right?
Yes.
Measure twice.
I'm just gonna take it down and then I'll clean it up. The bowl gouge here in a moment. Doesn't need to go really deep. Probably as deep as it needs to go right there.
How deep is that?
Huh?
How deep is that?
I'm gonna check in a second.
Okay.
Not that deep. You don't really need to go that deep with a recess. As long as you get the size right. If you don't get the size right, then it's not gonna work.
Well, you prove you prove that today.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately. Whatever.
It's about 3/8 inch.
Okay, thank you.
Oh no, not 3/8. What am I
Oh.
talking about?
Say
3/16.
What is it? It's less than it's like
3/16.
3/16.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So now I'm just gonna clean that up. Grab my small bowl gouge here and just clean up this mess that I just made in the middle. You want to make it look pretty. Drop the tool rest a little bit. There we go. And we'll come back the other way towards the other part here, just clean it up this direction. And now I'm going to grab my parting tool and I got to make it a slight dovetail shape on the inside. That's the shape of the jaws.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to grab that small parting tool that I used earlier that's cut on an angle or round on an angle here. Just to make sure it is dovetailed. We're getting a nice flat corner down in there. Now, if it comes off, I'm going to blame Dane on it.
That's fine. I got broad shoulders.
And I'm just going to do something pretty on the bottom here. Let's see what that looks like first. Not bad. I can do that. I can do that. Where are you? There we go. I'm going to play with a texturing tool here real quick. Oh, it's got to go a little faster than that. Little flower type of pattern here. Let's see how that looks. It's barely noticeable, but it's there. Should have sanded it all first. So I'm not going to mess with that too much. Just something to see if I can play it around with. So I just need to clean that little edge up right here.
Mm-hmm.
Without taking any depth of the recess away. That looks much better. So there's a gouge of it right here. So I'm going to grab me a larger tool here. I'm just going to do some shear cuts. Well, let me try it with this one first. This might be good enough. I'm just going to bring it around. I need to raise my tool rest up a little bit for this. Let's try that. Just working that gouge out that happened when it came off the lathe. It hit something right there. And I just want to, oh, still there, just a little bit left. So I'm just going to start back here and then follow through just to make sure I keep that curve shape going. And I'm just going to take that down right here just a little bit so it has a little bit of a foot on it, not much, just a tiny bit. And hopefully that got that little mark out of there. Oh, come on. Shear cutting doesn't take a lot of wood off all at once. This is which is perfect for this situation. So I'm just going to do a slight push cut and then clean it up. It's just a little bit too deep for what I was doing here. I should probably got rid of it. All right, now we can clean it up here. So I'm just looking at the horizon right here, just making sure there's a nice flowing curve. Going to switch cameras for a moment so you guys can see what's going on with the shape. I forgot to move my headstock forward so you guys can see what's going on there. A little bit more. There we go. So I was just shear cutting this area here just to get everything back in balance. You can see because it's in a different chuck again, it is out of shape. So I'm just going to do a slight push cut here, try to pick that up and get everything balanced back out. Hopefully it stays this way when I turn it around. It's got that bounce to it. I'm going to reverse it into the chuck, and if it's still a little out, I can fix it while it's in the chuck the other way. Where'd I put the PR? Okay. Let's do this again. And again, and again. Now I got to close this all the way down. It should go right in there, nice and snug. Oh, what the heck? Should have a flat bottom. It's not acting like it's got a flat bottom in there. It's kind of wobbling around.
Oh no.
I can still fix it. I just got to put it back on the screw chuck and do a little bit of adjustment. Come back in there with the scraper and just, I didn't realize there was a hill there. It shouldn't be.
Just need to concave it just there where the jaws would be.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's like there's like a little bump there. It wasn't letting it sit flat. this point in time, I'm not too worried about what the bottom looks like. So let me grab that small parting tool. That's not it. Where'd you go? Oh, no.
Careful you don't widen out that dovetail too much either.
Oh, I haven't. I'm just cleaning up the edge here. There you go.
When you go in and set that corner and then bring it towards the center.
There we
One
go.
motion.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you missed that step initially.
Yeah, that should go in there nice and tight now. Yeah, I didn't enlarge it at all. I just kind of flattened everything out under there. Keep forgetting it's on screw center.
Right?
What the heck? What in the world? Why is it? Is it not big enough? Man, I need to make it a little larger. Good grief.
Oh boy.
I know, I know. It's one of those fun days in the shop, people. I appreciate everybody that's been sticking around. It doesn't go unnoticed. I just realized that it's also too small, so I need to come in here and just make it a little bit bigger. Son of a gun. If it's one thing, it's another, I'll tell you.
So
I want to
just
get to
loosen
the
your-
painting. Huh?
I was gonna say, loosen your chuck and leave the chuck screw in it until you make sure you've got it where it fits. But never mind.
Unfortunately, that doesn't work that way with this recess. It'll work this time.
All right.
There we go. Perfect. So push on the center there a little bit better. Good. Good, good, good. All right. And it's almost practically returning true, so that's a good sign. So I need to take the walnut down a little bit so you can see when it took off on the lathe, it took a bite out, but that's all right. Just so I'm gonna grab me a larger bowl gouge here, take that down. Just make sure it's good and flat. Yep. All right. Let's take this stuff down. Now I just want to do easy cuts. I want to make sure it's not going to come out of the lathe. So I'm going to switch over to these two cameras and slide my headstock back. There we go.
There you go.
I can get in here and do some chewing up finally. Sure I got good enough swing. I'm going to raise this camera up just a little bit So you guys get a bit of different angle. Oop, there we go. So I'm not blocking it so much. All right, here we go again. Same thing, bowl, gouge. Flute's close when you start to cut, then you open it up to that sweet spot. I'm not taking heavy cuts just because it is in a recess. So all my cuts, I'm trying to put most of the force down towards the headstock. Less chance of the piece coming out of the lathe, out of the chuck again. One more cut, and then I'm going to go over to the grinder real quick. And I need to sharpen this tool. Everything's set up for this tool over here, so it'll only take me a second. Put a nice little finish on it. Nice little bevel sharpened. Make sure it's sharpened, the right angle there. Just the arm a little bit. There we go. Oh, that's weird. Stay tight in there, huh? Quite in the right spot. So readjusting the V arm on my grinder here. There we go. Nice sharp full gouge here. Where's my handle? There it is. So I like these kind of handles where you can see. Where am I? There we go.
In front of your headstock.
Yep. This is a Vicmark handle. There was only one place I could find that sold them, and that was the Woodworkers Emporium in Las Vegas, which is no longer open. Oh, that's cutting much better. I really liked that store. They had a lot of great tools in there. Stuff you couldn't normally find anywhere else. So we are down into the maple, as you can see, most of it. We're going to start again here. We're doing steps down towards the center. You can see I'm not going across the surface this way. I'm just going towards the headstock. Hopefully that's coming up on the camera. Let me see if I can adjust, if I can get this a little bit better.
There you go. See how that
So my hand keeps getting in the way, I know. See if I can do it underhanded here. There we go. I can do it underhanded today. We're just taking steps down, and then we come back and kind of do a push cut towards the headstock this way. Kind of remove some of those steps like that. Then we'll come back in. I'm getting some vibration on my tool, which means I'm probably pushing too hard. Back towards this area here, pick that up. And I know I got a bit ways to go, but I just like to check and make sure. Do the old thumb trick here. So I'm not worried about this part. So I'm just worried about how far in the, well, I could do it that way, I guess. Usually I just check the maple part, but almost halfway. So might have to go to the grinder a couple of times. I'm just gonna kind of speed this up a bit. Oh, I'm gonna swing that camera back a little bit. Sorry about that. Where are you?
Raise it up.
Yep,
Raise it up.
nice.
There we go.
My handle was swinging around and touching the tripod there. Oh, my toe grabbed underneath here and it sent it around. I started to cut too low. That's what caused that. And the rotation tried to grab my tool and send it flying around that way. Right now, I'm just trying to get to the depth I want. And I got to remember there's a recess in the bottom, so I got to take that into account while I'm doing this. So I don't make a donut by accident today. To really be in the day.
Right. You've had enough design opportunities.
All right, a couple more passes and I'll be deep enough, and then I'll start working on doing the undercut. I'm gonna stop there. Just double check. My thumb up. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there before another crazy thing happens. All right, so I need to grab me my two carbide tools here off the rack. These are very fragile. If they hit the ground, they do shatter. I'm gonna go to my overhead. You guys can see these. So you can see they're different than the regular easy wood tools. They're a cup shape. So I can do that. There we go. And you do turn them every now and again to keep the sharp edge sharp. And once that's done, you just toss these away because these are really micro type cutters. Very difficult unless you have a special diamond wheel and jig to sharpen these. You really can't do that. Not with a diamond card or anything, because it's just the way they're made. Same with this one. This is the one I'm going to use to get down inside. As you can see, it's got that bend in it. That bend is parallel with the bar, which is very important. If it's out here or too far over, you're going to get a lot of twisting and catching and things like that. So you want to avoid that. So the first tool I'm going to use is the straight bar. I'm going to grab that. There's that little handle here. There it is. I don't need the big handle for this, as far as I can tell. But I can always switch it out if I need to.
Excuse me, Scott, before you start, I'm just kind of curious why you think they're much better than the Easy tool.
Well, this is a cutting tool. This is a cutting carbide tip.
Okay,
It's not a scraper like the Easy Wood tools. I have one here. Oh, you
The
can see the-
design, it's a totally different carbide
Yes.
cutting design than what the Easy Woods are straight. Typical
just
carbides
flat.
are all straight.
yeah,
Yeah, see the
The-
difference there.
yeah,
The-
I've made
the
my
hunter-
own, and
And this is it's a cup. It's cupped in the middle there.
okay,
It's a really micro fine carbide compared to what Easy Wood sells. It's highly polished, and because it's cupped, it actually slices the wood instead of scraping the wood.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. I need to get a drink.
Yeah, totally different geometry.
Yes. So let me go back. This one here. Get that in there. Good. See if I can. I'm gonna kind of focus in on that a little bit better. It's got a better look at the cutting action if I do this.
Yeah,
Let's see how dark it is in there. You know what? I'm gonna grab my little light here and see if it, hopefully, it won't blind you guys too much. It won't wash it out. If it does, I'll just turn it back off. I've got a little LED light here that, oh, that's really bright, huh? Let's see. Oh, there you
Not
go.
bad. It's not
No,
bad
that's
at all.
good. You guys will be able to see what I'm doing. So for this one, I'm just going to start cutting here, and you can cut back and forth with these, but I'm going to start in the inside and work my way out and see how good of a cut that is. I'm turning the tool on a slight angle, shear cutting it, and you can adjust that to your cutting, because if you have it the wrong angle, these things can self-feed. And it's actually the tool's being drawn into the wood. So if you find that right angle, it won't do that. So let's see what we can do here. You can see those fine shavings coming off of that tool. Oh, right there. You won't get that with an Easy Wood tool. You can see how fast it's removing that wood too. It's taking it away pretty quick.
They are aggressive.
So I don't want to go any deeper with the bowl. I'm finding the bottom here, and I'm working my way back and forth. Woo. Getting some shavings in the face. So that was self-feeding. You saw it grab right there.
Yep.
So I had it at the wrong angle. Right there again. Gonna flatten out that bottom a little bit, make it a nice little curve. Get rid of some of those. So we're gonna stop and have a look. Because there is shavings building up right here, and it's hard for me to see where the walnut is. Let me grab a little brush here. Clean all this out. A little bit more. So I need to take a little bit more off, definitely right in this area. Just kind of clean that up. Then you see how fast that cut. It's disappearing pretty quick. So let me get rid of some of this wood. I can get pretty darn deep into that undercut, but just with this straight tool. That's what you want if you can. Get as much of the work done with the straight tool before you switch to the bent tool. So I'm just checking to see how far down inside I've gotten. I'm getting there. I just got to keep an eye on this piece of walnut here. So I don't want to cut through that. So you gotta pay special attention to where that joint is. Okay, wrong angle again. It tells you really quick if you're on the wrong angle. Okay, I'm almost to the point where I need to switch tools. Oh, I just want to let you know, these are called Brocket tools. They're made by Mike Chakosky, a wood turner out of near San Diego that I'm friends with. Craft Supply sells these tools. They're a little bit on the pricey side. You can probably find them cheaper now, but when these first came out, he was the first one to come out with these little bent tools.
Take a little more. Expensive. Everything he makes is expensive.
Yep. I still need to take some of that walnut down. There's still a little bit here, but I'm not going to worry about that at this moment. All right, so we're getting down in there. So some cuts with that bent tool, and we should be ready to go. I'm going to show you talk about something about this bent tool also. When you're using a bent tool like this, let's switch cameras here. You don't want it to where it's back on this elbow area, well, on your tool rest, because it's going to just twist and turn and cause you all kinds of problems. You need to have your tool rest set to when you're doing the cutting, the straight part of this bar is on your tool rest. So it has to sit back a little ways. So you just want to bring it in and check here. Make sure you're not going to hit that elbow when you're coming out or in. So you get to this point, you don't want that elbow to all of a sudden kick over on you. So we should be good, I think. Maybe a little further back. Well, it's better to be safe than sorry.
All right, I'll be right back, Scott. My daughter just came over. I gotta go say hi to her.
Oh, okay. What time is that? Oh, it's 1:30. Okay, we're almost there, and then we can take a break. We'll take a 10-minute break while I get some other stuff ready. So I'm taking lighter cuts with this. So I don't want to go through the sidewall, so I just want to take my time. So I'm just going to stop and have a feel, and your fingers can tell you a lot about how deep you are in a bowl. So I'm probably going to just about stop right there. I'm going to grab me a round nose scraper. Well, first and I'm just going to clean up this curve right here with the scraper if I can. I might go back to the straight tool first. I just used a minute ago just to get that curve right. Uh-oh. Sound like my camera turned off. That was weird. Hopefully it's still up and running. Okay, good. My camera made a weird beeping noise, and I was like, whoa. I just want to clean up this curve here. So I'm going to bring the tool rest closer again because we're not using that elbow tool anymore. Nice light cuts just to clean up the bottom some. Then we'll probably grab ourselves a scraper, a bowl scraper, standard scraper. Not, I really don't use those shear cutting or those, what do they call them? Those newfangled scrapers that are almost sharpened like a skew. Try to avoid that if I can. All right, so I'm gonna grab me my round nose scraper. That's probably on there we go. Found you. And we'll just use this to clean up this area down in this, right in here. Get rid of some of those tool marks. So for regular scraper, you need to raise your tool rest above center because you need to drop the tool down to center on the inside and have the handle up a little ways. And if you have a nice burr on it, like this one does, you will get a nice, you can get shavings off of it, just like that. Excuse me, I got some wood in my throat. Let's stop it for a minute, get the shavings out and see how we're looking. Just kind of feel around in there. Okay, there's a little bit of a bump right there. We need to get rid of that, level everything out. And if you notice, this is one of my old shopsmith tools. Still good to this day. 20-year-old tool when I bought, well, I bought it 20 years. Yeah, 22 years ago.
How much bigger was the metal on it?
It's just high speed, regular high speed still. I do have an older set that's carbon. One of their old carbon steel sets that they, well, that's what all wood turning tools used to be, is carbon.
Yeah. No, I was just curious, 20 years ago, how long the tool was.
Oh, probably half inch.
Oh, really? That's not bad.
No, because you don't need to take a lot of metal off on a scraper if you
Right.
if you sharpen it right. I see a lot of, the thing about putting a burr on the scraper. Let me mention this real quick.
Please.
When you do that, you can't see me, can you? Let's go to face cam. There we are. When you do that, a lot of people, they don't take the old burr off. They'll go back to the grinder, put a burr on, go back to work, gets dull, they go. What I like to do, I take just a diamond card and I always rub it on the top side here. Get rid of that old burr that went bad.
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't want to put a burr on top of a burr, a good burr on top of an old burr, because it's not going to cut right. It never does.
And in fact, you want to
people get frustrated with it.
Your flat scrapers, you want to treat them just like a plane iron. You got to flatten them first before you can get a consistent burr to even be raised across that scraper.
Yeah. But I see so many people, they don't get rid of that old burr and it just screws up, and then they get frustrated with their scrapers and they're like, well, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why.
during the break, if you want, David, I can show you how I've got mine. You know, and it's along the same lines as what Scott says as well. And we're both of the same school on scrapers. I'll show you how I've done mine and show you what we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
That's what we're here to teach.
Amen.
Gotta tell you, I really enjoy teaching wood turning. Today wasn't the best day,
Oh,
but
no,
it seems like things are getting better now. Things are working now.
You learn from both. I mean, you know, it's nice.
Oh yeah,
That even
I think.
Change your camera, Scott.
yours.
I think. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Everything is looking good now, though. I think.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
All right. So we got the inside done, I believe. We're not going to paint the inside. The inside stays wood. I would at this point probably sand it. Oh, there's a little bit of a groove there. So I'm just going to get rid of that real quick. Kind of bring it in on an angle, easy into it. Yes, listen, sometimes you can't tell between the shavings and the cut what it looks like. So you got to stop and feel and look, and that feels much better. Yeah. See, normally what I would do on a vessel like this, I'd sand the inside.
Sure.
And then what I have, Hampshire Sheen sells what's called a citrus burnishing oil. And I was like, burnishing oil, what the heck, you know? But after using it a few times, it just, after, you sand up to like 600, no wax, don't put wax or any other finish on it. And it just makes the wood glow. It's the oddest thing I've seen. It just makes the wood glow. It gives it this vibrance that I've never seen a finish do before. But it's called the citrus burnishing oil.
Citrus. Who makes it?
Hampshire Sheen. You can get it through Wood World of Texas.
Okay.
Their warehouse, they sell it.
Yeah, Jeff Hornan sells it.
Oh yeah, he sells it.
Log.
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna take this part down just a little bit more, kind of get rid of that little broken part a little bit better. I probably leave a little bit there, maybe add a little character, but I want to get rid of most of that. So, all right, here we go. So I'm just gonna do those push cuts into the walnut. Not too much because we do want to keep some of that. All right. Got rid of pretty much almost all of it. I don't want to go any lower though. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to do a draw cut right here and just clean up that walnut right there.
That's almost a closed flute cut.
So as you can see a couple little lines in there. See them right there. I still need to clean those up a little bit. So the flute's almost closed. And I can see those lines disappear, which means I got rid of those tool marks. Those tool marks, I'm just going to kind of round over this part, give it a little slight curve for the lid to sit into. When we get to that part. Yeah, that looks much better. All right. You can see my bandsaw right there. There it is. Let me close my shop door all the way so that sun's not glaring right up out of there. That should look better. Everybody see the bandsaw okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. This is not the lid piece here. This is just something that's in my way. Okay, this is a block of maple, just like the one same kind of maple I used. We need to cut this down because I do not need all of 3 inches for the lid. That'd be a little ridiculously high. So I'm just going to split this in half. I'm just going to judge it. So I'm just raising my bandsaw guard just to where the board or the piece of wood will just slip under the bearings. You don't want it any higher because you're resawing. If it goes high, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to get what's called blade drift while you're resawing if the blade guard's too high. So I'm going to bring over my grip fence. Slide on over there. There we go. It's I'm just eyeballing it here. It looks pretty darn close. It looks pretty good. All right, so I'm not going to use my dust collector because it can get a little loud. So I'm just going to have dust coming. You'll see dust and sawdust and stuff. So don't worry about that. So, all right, so here we go. Oh, is that not plugged in? It should be plugged in. I guess it's not. Okay. I thought I had it plugged in over here. Pardon me for a second. There we go. It's like you guys are probably going, oh no, his bandsaw doesn't work.
Yeah.
It does. All right, here we go. So I got both hands on both sides of the wood just to steady it here, but I'm putting more pressure on the outside here against the fence. Just to get it started here. Just take your time, there's no hurry. And before I come out of the cut, I want to make sure my hands are behind the blade. So I'm not accidentally putting my thumbs here and it slips right into my fingers. There. That's why I love bandsaws because you can take big pieces of wood and turn it into little pieces of wood. So I was kind of off on that a little bit, as you can see. I didn't have it lined up quite as much, but I'm probably going to go with the thicker piece because I can always take wood away. But if the wood isn't there to begin with, then you might run into a problem. Let me grab my little disc here. Let me move my grip fence back again. There we go. Oh, I want my pencil on the floor. I'm going to need that. Oh, that's the one thing about getting old. It gets harder and harder to bend over and pick stuff up, I'll tell you.
You're only a puppy.
64.
Telling David.
82.
Wow. That's great. And you're out in the shop working, that's great.
Sometimes it is.
Hey, I was in a club where we had a very active wood turner. He was 105
Holy cow.
before he passed away. He was wood turning up until the point he passed away.
He probably ran out of wood in his garage.
Probably, right?
Said it was time.
Oh, where did that darn nail go? Let me grab another nail. That one just kind of disappeared on me that I had over here. That's the thing about my shop. Nails and little bits like that like to wander off. And 3 years later, I'll find it somewhere. And, oh, there it is. Come here. Where's the good nail? Nope, that's not it. Darn it. Let's have my box nails in here, and it doesn't seem to be any in the tub. supposed to be in this tub. There's some right there. There's some. All right. So I'm just going to grab a couple of them just to make sure I lose one, I have the other. All right. So I marked it. Oh, I dropped my, kicked over my fan. Sorry about that. It's a little warm in my shop today. So I'm going to mark that hole first, and then I'll grab my little measuring disc. Sometimes I use a pencil cutlass for this, but kind of both of mine went missing. So I'm just going to use this little template here. And I'm going to measure the opening of that bowl that we made. See how big you need to make this blank. So I'm just measuring the opening a little bit. Okay, 4 inches, because we can take wood away. So I'm just going to make a 4-inch disc. And then we're going to turn that down to where it's a lid that fits down into where that walnut is. So I'm going to grab a pencil. Hopefully you guys can see all this online.
Yep.
Okay. So there's little holes along here in the disc. It's 4, 5, 6 inches. And you just spin it. That's what it does. It just spins. You can just draw a circle. All right. I'm gonna pop that out. And there should be a circle right there. Usually I don't make the blanks this big. Usually I'll cut them down into chunks. So I have some wood there. I can still do that. So I'm just going to kind of trim some of this away and then cut the circle out. I'm just going to bring my grip fence back up to do that. That way I've got like little blocks for, you know, finials or whatever. I don't like to waste wood. I'm sure nobody does, I hope. So I'm just going to trim this off. I always find a use for all these offcuts. So all right. We'll put these to the side. We're good to go. The idea was for this morning, I was going to show you how to cut all the blanks, but we're kind of running short on time on that. So we're not going to get that far into it this time around. So what I like to do is I like to cut grooves just right up to that line. So that way when you're cutting circle, you're not cutting a big thing inside one solid piece. This allows pieces to fall away, get out of your way as you cut the circle. So this is where I'm going to start. That's where that line is, right there. And I'm just going to bring my hands around to this side here. And just take my time following that pencil line all the way around. And you're going to see this piece fall away. There we go. That's out of the way. And you got to remember, it's when you're cutting with the grain, the cut can start moving a lot faster than if you're going against the side of the grain. So you got to remember, the wood might jump on you a little bit while you're bandsawing. We're just going to try to avoid that. See, it's cutting slower right in this area because the grain is, I'm cutting against this side of the grain instead of lengthwise. So you just got to take that into account while you're cutting blanks. So now I'm coming back around into where the grain is straight and the cut is speeding up. So I just need to slow down my progress with my hands so I don't get going too fast. And we're just going to gently bring that out. There we go. And we've got our nice little lid blank right there. Back to the lathe. So we got that. There's the bowl. We got the recess in the bottom. That's going to stay there. That's going to be the foot of the bowl. And here's the blank for the lid. So we're just going to cut this down, make it a little bit thinner, and we're going to match it to where it fits. But first we need to drill a nice little hole there. We're not going to go quite as deep as we did with the other bowl because we are going to put a, what's called a spacer on there because we don't want that screw center to come way down inside the wood here. So we're going to put the screw center in. And then we'll slide that disc over the screw center here, and it'll take up some of that slack. And if you need to even take more slack, you can put another one of these on there. Just make sure it's good and flat against the jaws. And see how much less that takes. So let's see what happens if I put another one on there. This is a bigger one. We'll slide it on there and see how much thread we've got left. So that would probably hold it maybe. This is a small piece, so we don't really want to go really deep. So we're just going to stop right there, and I'm going to mark my drill bit. I'm just going to hold my drill up to that. I'm going to get a magic marker here, a little Sharpie. I'm just going to put a little mark on my drill bit. It shows how deep I need to go. I'm going to mark it a little shallower or a little deeper because we got that little point there that's sticking out. This is the actual depth that you're going to end up. So we want to go some deeper. There we go. I'm going to grab a piece of tape and put tape right there. That way I can see it all the way around. Can't see that mark while the wood is spinning, so we need to put tape on it. Where did I put my tape? I had it this morning. There you are. Found you. All right. What is that noise? Somebody's working on something there, Dane?
Oh, I'm digging in a junk box for him. Sorry.
That's all right. I can hear some noises going on there. No problems. Dig away. All right, so we got the brad point again, and we're just going to take it to where the depth of that tape shows us. It should be deep enough. And we really don't need to put the wax on it for this part. We're not going all the way on there. So now I want to lock my spindle so I can screw this on nice and tight. Oh, of course, you had to roll under there. All right. Let me get my magnet here. Where did you go? How far did you roll under there? Oh, wow. There you are. All right. This is handy. When you drop something in your shavings or something, you just root it around and you'll always find it. And Dane, remember when I said I lost my point the other day? That magnet, I found it with that magnet.
Oh, good, good.
I did. I always find it eventually. Just got to take the time to do it. It rolled further than I thought it would have. With the amount of shavings on the floor, I thought it would just fall straight through. But I guess it had a little energy with it.
Yeah, build up a little bit of kinetic energy in that 3-foot fall.
Yeah. I'm going to move the bowl out of the way here. Okay, so we're just going to take this down a little bit. And I'm going to trim some of this off. We don't need all that in our way. So these little discs, you know, I call them, you know, kind of the things that are consumables in a way. Let me grab a gouge here. I'm just going to trim that back a little bit. So it's kind of in the way. It's kind of dusty when you do this, so hold your breath.
Yeah.
I don't have my filter on. We have a dust filter on for this, but you guys would, all you guys would hear is, you don't understand a word I was saying.
Be impersonating Charlie Brown's feature.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, so that's going to be out of the way enough. So I want to bring my tool rest around. You see how dusty that stuff is. There we go. Grab me my, which one is this? 5/8 bowl gouge. I'm just gonna do some pushes. I'm a little too high for this gouge. It's still too high. Should be right on center. Yep, right there. Soft as this maple is, it'll disappear in a hurry here. You also need to take a bit down here so we get the right. Wow. What was that?
Not me.
What is, sounded like an air compressor or something going off. I think that's David's mic. There we go. See, I don't mind that, except the problem is when I make the recordings, I have to try to edit all that kind of noise out. Yeah. So I'm just going to hold the bowl up to this now and just check the size here. You need a custom fit. Oh, okay. That looks pretty good. So now what I want to do is create a chamfer right here so it sits nice right inside this walnut opening here. We'll see how that goes. So I'm just going to do some angled cuts here. Flute's almost closed, and I'm just going to go back and forth. It's probably more angled than that, so I need to just, there we go. And I'm just going to test fit the angle, make sure it's right. Got a lot of woods I can still play with. If I mess up a little bit, I can still got plenty of wood to work with. Okay. So it needs to go a little bit smaller, the whole thing here. Yeah, the diameter of it is still a little too big, so I need to take a little bit of this off. We'll do another push cut towards the headstock. And increase that angle. Oh no. A little too slow. That's all right. We still got all this wood right there. All right. So that fits good like that, just like that. All right. So I'll be making a recess right here. I'll grab that as a recess using my smaller jaws. I'm hoping to use that. But I'm not sure. Let me check something here. Oh, okay, that's going to work. Don't want to go any smaller than that because I want to use my Bic mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna say don't use that one way.
No. So that's going to fit just nice right there. That's good. I can take a little bit of this down still so it doesn't. That's good. So I'm just going to erase some of this down a little bit more. It doesn't need to go that far down inside the bowl. I'm just going to try to eyeball that. See how far in it's going. So it's probably right about there's where it needs to be. That's my speed control. Still take some down to that area here. We'll still have plenty of wood to finish off the top. Right, we need a nice soft surface here. Straight as we can get it. Even slightly concave if you need to. Where that little nubbin that shows up on there. All right. Let's see here. We should slide right on just like that. You just want to angle it just a little bit more than it is, not much. So I'm just going to do see how that fits in there. That's fitting really nice. That's good. Might be a little too tight, actually. I might need to take a little bit down, but what I want to do is I want to sand it down. I'm going to grab me that 180 piece I had earlier. Sanding can be your friend as far as getting fits just right. Too fast. I've learned over the years that sanding can get the final fit just nice and just the way you want it.
What speed are you sanding at?
I'm doing it right now. I'm at 400.
Okay.
Too fast and the sandpaper just it'll overheat and it won't do its job. It just skips over the wood.
Yeah.
Too slow, that's fine. It just takes you longer.
Yeah, I found wood turners like a nice tight fit, and people that buy these bowls like it to come off easy.
Yes, yes. It's what's called the wood turner's fit. That's what it's called. So I just need to. The sanding really didn't help much. So I just need to take a little bit more of an angle off of here. Yeah, that's what it's called, the wood turner's fit. It's when you're making a box or something and wood turners want to hear that pop, you know?
Yep.
Ooh, listen to that pop. But man, you're at a craft show trying to sell it. It's the ladies that want it. They don't want that pop. They don't care. They want something that's easy just to lift off and get their earrings or something out of. They don't want, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm putting a burnish line on the wood just by spinning it just like this. Don't do this with the lathe running, please. So it's kind of leaving a little bit of a mark. So I can take a little bit more off. And I think then we'll be able to put that recess right in there and reverse turn this and get it fitting just nice. Bring it up to the burnish line and see how it looks and how it feels too. Yeah, it's gonna fit just nice, just like that. I don't want to make it a real snug fit. I just want it to just slip right in there, in and out. That's what I'm shooting for. And that did it right there. All right. So let's mark that gouge, that set of the set that I've already set for the recess and making sure it's the right ones. Yes. Let's do that simple mark again. Raise up my tool rest where this is either on center or just a little bit above. All right. So we're on center there. So I'm just going to start here and I'm just going to creep my way towards me until those lines line up without touching this point on the far side. You got to remember that. I think I got it right there. All right, I'll mark that with a pencil so you guys can see it a lot easier on camera. All right, so we just need to do the same thing we did the other one, the parting tool. We'll put these tools away real quick. I don't like stumbling over my tools if I can help it. Here's my parting tool. So for now, I'm just going to go straight in. And then we'll create a dovetail shape inside there. You don't need to go really deep. Make sure I got a nice flat bottom. Not like last time. I think last time it was partly creep up onto that pencil line. There we go. It was partly too small and partly the bottom wasn't flat. But we got through it.
Sure did.
So I'm gonna grab me my small full gouge and I'm just gonna kind of create a decorative dome right through here. So I'm just gonna take this down a little ways. And one more pass. Then I'll do a push cut going the opposite way. And let's see if we can get this nice and smooth. I need to lower the tool rest for that angle of attack. A little bit more. It's always worth it to adjust your tool rest. I know sometimes it's like, oh God, I got to do that again. But it's very, very important to me to make sure your tool rest is set at the right height. And then we'll come back with a push cut this way to clean that up. So, let me turn down the lathe a little bit. I'm just going to sand this little dome. And we'll try doing that a different tool for texturing on this. It might work a little bit better. And no, it's not going to be my Architect. Although I could use it on here to make a pattern. I don't want to get that big old thing out right now. All right, so I'm going to use what's called knurling tools for this. It's just a lot. This comes from the world of metalworking. Somebody got the bright idea. Hey, I bet you that could put patterns in wood too. And it does. Although this does not cut wood, it just puts an impression in the wood, which is kind of sad in a way, because if the wood isn't dry, which this isn't quite dry, it can affect the texturing or the pattern later on. It could actually fill in or shrink and go out of different shapes and maybe sometimes even disappear as the wood changes as it dries. So I need this to be about 400. And you just take it and you just stick it straight into the wood like this. And you can rock it back and forth a little bit. And you can drag it across the wood a little bit, change the pattern up a little if you take it across. And the thing about this tool, you want to make sure that it's leaving the pattern. So when you're pressing it in, you want to just leave it in there running a little bit longer than you think you should. And that's always been my case when working with this thing. So I'm going to use a little point tool just to highlight where that texture is. I'm just going to bring it up. So it's on center. So there's a little mark here. And we'll bring it out to this edge right here. And then I'm just going to grab me a little white Scotch-Brite pad that I've cut up. Oh, this one's not cut up, so it's fine. No, it'll still work. You can find this in paint store or in the paint sections at Lowe's and Home Depot and stuff. It's a very fine abrasive, piece that's used for smoothing paint. We'll probably use that in a little bit. As far as getting the first one or two coats of the paint nice and smooth on the surface of the bowl. When we get to that, we're just almost there. We still need to go one more time back. There's a nice pretty pattern right there. We're just going to leave that alone. It's hard to tell on the camera. Let me switch. Should have changed that. There we go. But what I did, I guess the camera didn't pick it up. I'll show you the tool I used. It's this right here. And I just pushed it right into the wood and it left its pattern right there as it spun around. And there's two different sizes. This is the widest one I've got. Then you have, if you want to make just a narrower pattern, there you go right there. All right, so I'm going to touch that with the 180 along this area right here. It looks like it's got a little bit of a tear out right there. So turn down the weight just a little bit. There we go. Bites into the wood better. Get up here. Yeah, that's much better. All right, so let me put these tools away. I need a new toolbox. This one's getting full. So now we're just going to take it off the screw center and we're going to reverse it. All right. There we go. Maybe I should have greased it. There we are. Uh-oh. Sounds like David's mic's open again.
I just muted.
Okay. Thank you. That happens. All right. So that hole, we're going to use that hole. We're not going to get rid of it. So that'll work for putting the finial in. Oh, hole in there. Oh, come on now. Oh, I had it in the wrong spot. Oh no, I made it too small again. Oh, grief. This is not my day for recesses, I'll tell you. All right, let's screw it back on real quick. My recesses just ain't coming out like they should. Needs a little bit of an opening more, huh? And I got to adjust the dovetail on it again. I thought we were on a slam dunk course of action here. We're doing well. All of a sudden, we're not. So we got room. We can still open that up a little bit more. Parting tool. Thankfully, that's a little extra there. And it is not running true again. So let me see if I can adjust that a little bit. No, that's what happens. We'll make it work. Should have measured it with the ruler before I took it off. That's what I'm doing right now. All right, just a touch more. That should probably be enough. I don't want to go too thin. And now, that special tool. Where did I put you? There you are. Special little parting tool to get down that dovetail in there. We do this again. And finish cleaning that up with the parting tools to make sure everything's good and flat. Might be a little wobbly when I turn it around the other way. This thing did not go on straight and true. It's not running straight and true. All right. Let's do this again. One thing in there. You take pieces of wood on and off. They never quite go on quite as well as they should have, as far as it's always going to, wood's always going to be off just a little bit. Push that down, gently snug this up. There we go. And you don't want to hear a crack. That's pretty true. All right. Oh, what that part right there, that piece. It's way too big, so we need to take that down a bit. That's not what I want to do. I'm just going to do a couple push cuts with a small bow gouge in towards the headstock this way. Okay, so now I want to create a dome shape on the top. It's not going to be a flat lid. It's going to be a nice dome shape. Let me switch cameras and see if we could. All right, so I'm going to bring my headstock back into view for the overhead, so you guys can see that shape taking place. This over a little bit. Oop, wrong way. There we go. You can kind of zoom in a little bit more. Bring that back up. There we go. All right. I'm going to make sure that's on point. That's too high. I'm going to drop that down. Okay, now it's on center. Now we can start shaping the round dome, just doing pull cuts. And you'll see what I'm doing. It's more of an OG shape, more than a dome. An OG shape is basically a curve coming into a curve. I'm coming in. So that's a convex. And then I'm going to make a convex down here towards the bottom. You guys could probably see that forming on the camera there. Let me get some of these shadings out of the way. You guys can see that a little bit. You can see how it's coming out and then coming in and then curving back towards the center there. It needs a little bit more of a curve. And we need a flat spot here for the finial. There we go. Not a huge flat spot, but you still need one. Oh, we lost that curve. Take some of this down. This down a little bit. There we go. Now we got a nice OG curve. Come down a little bit on here. And we're going to grab that sandpaper. We'll have a look first, just see how it looks. Looks pretty good. Let's get some sandpaper going on here. If there's too much tear out, I'll do a push cut in towards the center and see how well that helps. Or push cut out from the center outwards. I mean, just want a nice smooth canvas. Just a little bit right there on the edge. I'll clean that up, get rid of that sharp corner. Which should fit nice if I did everything correctly. All right. Okay. Just put some of this wood out of the way. The trash, I don't need it there. Got my block of walnut here. You know what? I can just start with a 2-inch block. I'm gonna grab my, oh, where did that go? That, oh, there it is. My protractor here. There we go. And I'm just gonna eyeball this and cut some of that end off first to get rid of the wax. Okay. So this piece right here lines up right where the saw is, the saw blade. So whatever I get measured to that end, right there, that's where I'll be cutting. So I will spin that out 2 inches. Oh, let's do 2.5 just to be on the safe side. Not quite there. Yep. All right. Let's cut this off here. Then we're going to bring the fence up. Grab this ruler here. Being away from the blade. I'm just going to make the block 1.5 inches, and then we can go work from there. Stop right there. Grab my clamp. We don't need this one anymore. And send this through. Where's the fresh cut? I want to make sure we're going with the grain. So we cut it this way. So we need to turn it. Cut it this way. All right. We're checking some stuff. So keep your fingers away from the blade. And there we go. We've got a 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square. Make the finial out of. If you have any questions so far? No? Okay. We will keep on going. I just grab that block I just cut up right here. I'm just going to mount it right into this chuck. Corner to corner. Tighten it down. Then we're going to round this over with a roughing gouge. I'm going to move this light. I'm going to turn it off for now because I don't think we need it anymore for the time being. Adjust my tool rest and everything here to make sure it's good and tight. Grab my roughing gouge. And I'll clean this up, get it around really quick. So we can turn up the speed pretty fast when doing this because it makes the cut easier. Ain't too high. All right, there we go. You guys can see that spinning. It's just that block of walnut that I just cut. This seems a little dull, so I'm going to grab me my other roughing gouge, a smaller one. But that one seems like it's a little bit dull. There we go, that's better. Not to mention that walnut can be a little hard to turn as far as because of this. So some pieces are really dense. This is a piece of Claro walnut. I'm just gonna see if we've got it around yet. I don't think we do. Oh, we do. Okay. Parting tool. Clean up the end. I'm just going to measure something real quick. Hoping I won't have to use that other jaw, but not to suffer through the one way here. I'd rather do this. I won't have to be switching back and forth on this though. I'm just calibrating this so I can get a. It's barely gonna fit. That's too small for these jaws. I have to. These will probably fit in this chuck. So I'm going to swap them. Swap them out and take this out. Got my other. I'm just making sure these are going to fit in this chuck here. Oh yeah, that's good. All right. So I'm going to swap out my chuck here. There we go. This thing's heavy. Boom. Get this good and tight. We'll take this down and we'll start shaping the whole thing. Take down that rest of that square part here. really tough wood. Been drying in my shop for a while. Okay, so we can clean up the end here. And I'm just going to put a mark so I know where the center is. Because we do need to take some of that wood out of there. Put some of these tools back out of the way. Grab me up a Dan. Where are you? There we are. And I'm going to take this down quite a bit with the Badan here. It's just like almost like a large, very large parting tool. It's used a lot in Europe for doing all kinds of things. Make the practice, you can make coves and beads with it to a point. It takes, what I like about it, it takes a lot of wood away really fast. I think that needs a little sharpening, so off to the grinder I go real quick. It's already set up for this tool, so I'm not too worried about taking my time getting this done here. I'm taking the old burr off, just like you would a scraper. 180 grit CBN wheel. And it's that quick. Oh, we keep kicking stuff over today. All right. That is a loud wheel, huh? I'm just trying to remove a bit of wood here. Get down to where we'll get a spindle gouge. We're done with that one. Let me grab a spindle gouge here. All right. Whew. So now we're just going to start trimming this down. I'm going to grab my lid to the bowl. And I'm just going to kind of see how big that is compared to the lid. So it needs a little bit more delicacy than that. I need to take a little bit more off. Not much, just take it easy. There we go. Just a slight curve in that. Leave that tool mark that was right there. And that should probably be about the right size for a lid like this. Yes. All right. So now I want to get this right down in there. Nice sharp corner. Kind of even curve it down in there. So I'm going to grab me a small detail gouge in a second. Kind of curve that right down in there like it's going to two different pieces, but it's just one. So we're going to grab this little guy, twist it, and push it in at the same time. Nice detail right in here. Push cut in. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit more of this down. Back to that little detail gouge. I'm just gonna put a chamfer on this. It's almost like a little cup. That's what I'm shooting for. So I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna grab some 320 sandpaper and just go over it real quick, just to smooth things out. And then we're going to hollow this end out. I want to sand it before I do that. Otherwise, the wood will be a little too weak for the sanding. I don't want to take a chance on it. I'm just going to have a look, see here. Okay, I can clean this up just a hair. Little details. There we go. Now I just want to hollow the center out with this little detail gouge. Sort of like a little goblet or cup, some sort. Make sure the tool is on center. Because I don't want to be lifting the back of the handle up when I make this cut. So I'm just going to come in this way, and it's going to be sort of, it's ingrained. So I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out instead of like a bowl going in. I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out, just like you would when you would turn in a box. Raise my tool rest up a little bit, turn up the speed. You just push that point in and then drag it out like that. Oh, you guys can't see that, can you?
Not really.
Let's see. There we go. So I'm just pushing the tool straight in like this and then dragging it out as I do the cut. Uh-oh. Ah. There must have been a weak spot in this wood, so there's plenty of wood still here to work with. That popped off, not meaning for it to. Maybe I'll make the next one a little more robust. Let's do this. All right. Probably made a 6 dozen of those things, and every now and again they do pop off. A little bit deeper. Come on. Keep going. I'm just going to leave it a little bit bigger. So that taught me that maybe that little knob was going to be a little too weak. Or a handle anyway. I'm just going to stop right there. I'm not going to go any deeper. Whew. All right, let's do this again. It's still, nope, not on center anymore. So, the painting. Let me grab my box of paints. Take this glove off. I want to make sure, yeah. Okay, I want to make sure OBS is still recording. It'd be a shame if it wasn't. It's still going. Good.
Still recording.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure. All right, I'm going to put some gloves on. I'm going to get a cup of water. For my paintbrushes. The painting part is fun. I'm going to slide this down just a little ways so I can bring in my pulse, my banjo here. So I do have that blocked out of that one. No. All right, that's good. Come on out of there. What are you doing? There we are. There we go. This is my little stand here that I use. I attach my chuck to. It has the piece in it still. I need to screw this on. What's going on? Okay. Oh, it's lined up. There we go. Oh, should I do that? Let's see. It's kind of a heavy chuck for this. Yeah, I'll change chucks. So I'm not going to be turning with this. I'm just going to be holding. I'm going to use my one way here. Turn. There we go. That's turning it the wrong way. Silly me. I know. All right, so we're going to use a recess here to hold this on. Right. Then we can just tilt this around. That's what I want to do now. Take that out. This is there's a guy on our Wednesday night clubs named Scott Teague. He's come up with one of these that you can make for like 30 bucks. Normally, I bought this one 6 years ago. And it's 150. But there's other ones.
We can't see it.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
It's that part of the day where I start messing that up. So this is this it just holds your piece with your chuck. It's like this. You can turn it, twist it, whatever you want to do with it. It's great for carving and doing what I'm going to do. I'm just going to adjust this so when I'm painting, it's over the board. I don't mess up my bedways here. Okay, so here's the gloss. a pan for my different colors. There's my different paints, acrylic paints. And I use whites. For this, I use blues and whites, different shades of white. All right, so we got those there. I'll grab me some paint brushes over here off my table, along with some sponge brushes. And a sponge, we need the sponge. That's a very important part of this. There we go. I've got more over there if I need to cut it up. We'll put the brushes over here out of the way so I don't knock them around. And let me grab a cup of water for the brushes. I'm going to grab a bottle of water here to fill that cup up with. There we go. I know I'm off camera just a little bit, but just bear with me for a second. There we go. I'm going to zoom out in a second so you guys can see a bit more. Okay. Let's zoom this out. Oop, wrong way. There we go. Much better view. All right. Masking tape. You need masking tape to cover up this part where the walnut is. On the outside, we're not worried about the inside because we're not painting in there. So I start off with using the small, where did I put my razor blade? A very thin type of paper, not paper, masking tape. I just gotta find where it stopped last time. Looks like it's right here, so I just need to get the peel that off. Another use for your parting tool. And I'm just gonna take it, I'm just gonna put it right around the edge there, right up close, as close as I can to the maple without covering the maple. And I'm just gonna loosen this handle, just a little bit. That's a little too loose. Wait, don't do that. I'm not supposed to do that. A little too loose, I guess. Just want to make sure it's good and tied up against the maple there. Between the walnut and the maple. And we are there. All right. So we're going to put one more sticker piece on here. This is that frog tape, so it comes off easy. I'm going to swing this around. That way I can just get a better angle at this. All right, so stick. We're almost there. Darn. There we go. I'm just gonna loosen this so we can turn it and see what we're doing. So that small stripe of masking tape is just to protect the walnut. And this, you don't have to be so careful with, just enough just to cover everything up. Push it over the sides there. All right, there we go. Now we can start painting. So I'm going to start with a darker blue. Maybe should let's see which colors I got for blue. With white. I'm looking at the other piece that I did sitting over to the side, so I'm looking at different shades. This is the one I want. All right. Yeah, we're just gonna shake it up really well. Pop that open. Turn the little. Oh. It's out. There we go. Good and thick. That's what I want. So you want to use a sponge brush on this because it's less tendency of leaving brush marks. That's what we're going to try to avoid here. I'm just going to put it on a little thick. A little more. Out of the paint out of the bottle. And get it up right in there where that masking tape is. Smooth it out as best you can. Fill in any like torn grain if you run across it.
These are all acrylics?
Yes, these are all acrylics. You can buy them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, any place like that. There's nothing special. You can also get the tube kind. They're just as nice. Sometimes I'll use the acrylics that come in the tube, depending on the project. But kind in the bottle works pretty well for this. I'm just going to get to the back side here before I turn it to the other side. You know, it's maybe sort of like waiting for paint to dry, but I've got a heat gun that's going to speed that up. Okay, so now I'm just going to loosen this handle and kind of spin this around so we can get to the other part. Helps keep your hands free. That's why I like using this. I also use it for carving some of my wood turn pieces. I used to do a lot of carving, but not so much anymore. And smooth out, make sure you're not leaving any glumps or bumps where the paint might be too thick. Okay, I think we got it smoothed out enough. I'm going to grab my heat gun. We'll dry this really quick. You'd be surprised how, you gotta be careful with the heat gun though. You don't want it to boil your paint.
Just what I was going to ask about.
Yeah, you gotta do it nice and take your time. And
Yeah.
all right, so I just got a Cobalt heat gun from Lowe's. Nothing special about it. It's got different heat settings. And when you're doing this, you want it at the, you don't want it at the highest setting. You want it basically pretty much at the lowest setting or thereabout. I usually set it at 2. Now, I'll just check to see how hot it is by rubbing it on my hands first. It feels pretty good. You don't want to put the heat gun right up against it. You just want to pick it across, and you'll see the paint lighten up as it dries. So it's a little thick right here. That might be one of those little fissure cracks. Probably what that is. Put the brush in the water, keep it fresh. Checking the heat again. Let's make sure it's not too hot. This, if it's too hot, it can blister the paint. So. And for the gloss, when we get to the what looks like glaze, I have another bowl already over there that's already painted, because you do really want to make sure the paint is dry. Checking the dryness. Okay, that's pretty good. You do want it dry though, or semi-dry for the next step, or it's not going to look right. Because you're going to be layering paint on top of paint. So that right there. Okay, next step is using sponges. So I'm going to just trim some of that old paint off of that one over the trash can so I don't get little pieces of sponge flying around. All right. So we're going to use 2 different shades of white. So I'm going to put the blues away. You could, add different shades of blue as you go if you want. Where did I put my white paint? Oh, there it is. Okay. You got white, off-white. I think I have one more. That's not the right one, though. So we'll just work with these 2 for today. So I want to start with the off-white. So I'm just looking at the bottom here. Liquor white and Adrianic white. Trying to figure out which one's the darkest. No, we'll just experiment today. See what this one looks like. This one looks darker. This one. Yep. All right, so we're going to start. This bottle here. I'm just going to squeeze it out onto the palette, flat part of the palette here. All right, so I've cut.
Do you always use the same paints in the same order, or?
No, you can mix it up. But for this, the piece I saw, it was in a ceramic store where they do the ceramics.
Right.
And they started with the darker blues, then they like eggshell white, kind of dull. Then they got to the brighter whites, and then they actually used the crackle. Well, when they fired it, the paint kind of crackled underneath the glaze.
Yeah, there are special crackling glazes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going to dab that onto the end of this sponge here. Just kind of splatter it around. And I took a picture of this several years ago at the original. You don't want to try to smear it, you just want to dab it. So get too much on there, just dab it onto your palette there. And you would do the same technique on the lid. Same kind of painting. And when I get the one that's already painted but doesn't have the glaze on it, you'll see that the lid's different. The bowl is a little shallower, more squatty than this one. And you know, you can vary it up. You can have the lighter white underneath the darker white, or vice versa, things like that. Just mix it around and just have fun with it. I mean, you could do this like with reds and yellows and stuff and make like sort of like a sunset bowl type of colors. There's all kinds of things you could do with it. That up just a little bit there. Right back to the heat gun. This will dry faster than that first coat did. This is a thinner coat, so it won't take as long. Wow. Well, everybody's getting their money's worth today, I hope. No, I had a couple of faux pas today that wasn't the best thing. Okay, so I got a little too close with the heat gun and it kind of scorched the paint just a little bit right there, but it's able to rub it off. I need to rotate it. See, like right here, I got the paint a little thicker than I did on the other side, but that's all right. We're just playing around today with the paints. So I'm going to grab a different shade of blue. I'm going to put it over the white and then put another different colored shade of white over the top of that, just to give it a more dimensional look. So let me grab that other shade of blue. It's going to be a lighter blue. I'm just going to squirt it out on my fingers there. That's why I have this board. So I got more sponge I can cut off. So we're just going to dab a little bit on here. It's a little too much. And I could actually mix it with the white we were just using, which I'm going to do just a little bit just to lighten up, change the blue a little bit here. Add a little white with the blue on the sponge. Just playing around. There we go. That's an interesting shade. Very cool. Not so heavy this time. Dab it around. Then we'll put another layer of the white on there. Turn this. Get that all done. And mix up a little more of that blue and white on the sponge. Twist it and twirl it in the paint. Both together. Kind of dab it off to the side so it's not really heavy. Let's get a little more blue on there.
Scott, your head's in the way. Is it possible to move just a bit? Thank you.
Yeah. I'm looking over the top right now.
I know. I'm sure
So
Da Vinci had the same problem.
Probably did.
Yeah, poor guy.
Would a different camera angle work for that, Scott?
No, not really. I mean, these are the 3 camera angles I've got is that. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, the overhead's probably the overhead's probably the best for it. All right, so we're gonna dry that, and then we'll put one final white coat on it. It's already dry. Hoping I can get it all dry without having to stop and turn it. Let's bring the gun around this way. There we go. That should do it. All right, just a little more white. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go all the way into the lid part because that's white. There we go. It's a little off white here. It's not as bright. So I'm going to cut a little more sponge off, the big sponge. Here's my big sponge. Just take it. There we go. And keep that in a Ziploc bag if you're not using it. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a different pattern on this one. I'm just gonna try to find which one pattern I want to use. I can just lightly dab this. Speckles, speckles, speckles. A little more paint on there. The excess off. A little too much maybe, so I just gotta go a little bit lighter. Trying to keep my head out of the way. Let's turn it to that area right there. Now the other one has a different kind of patterns. It's mostly just dark blue and white. And I'll put the gloss on it in a second. But that would be how I paint these. Pretty simple stuff. So let me set my board out of the way here because no, just the paints. I need my board up here. Yeah, so I would do the same thing for the lid. Which is pretty interesting, and got paint on my chuck, but that's okay. It does come off. No. So I would just set this to dry on its own. I would touch up the bottom a little bit. And we'll grab me my paper towel and just kind of clean off any wet paint that might have got on the chuck. And I'll just soak this stuff in acetone and it'll come off. Put my chucks and my jaws into some acetone overnight, and Don't even know there was paint on them. Even though I like to sometimes leave it on there as like battle scars, you know. Wow, because there is a really thick finish, like, you know, acrylic and all that kind of stuff that needs to come off. So, all right, so let me chuck up that other one. So the chuck has to come off of here because you need to be able to spin it on the lathe really slow. So I'm gonna pull this out, put it back on its mounting bracket over here. Let me grab the bowl that I did previously. Wow. Got lots of sandpaper in there. Didn't even know it. Very cool. That's good. I need sandpaper. Who doesn't need sandpaper, right? I didn't know that was in there. All right, same kind of concept, you know, undercut, all that stuff. Except they didn't add as much blues. I did use a crackle on this. You see the slight crackle? You know, added it to the paint so it would crack a little bit. So now I'm just going to mount it onto my chuck here. And I will get the glaze stuff out. Just put that right there. We're not going to, you might turn the lathe on really slow while the glaze sets up. But we're going to cover this whole thing with that glaze. So let me slide some of this stuff out of the way, especially this cup of water. I do not want to spill blue water all over the place. That would not be fun. Quick drink. We should be done by 4 o'clock. Just so you have a timeline. I'll put this lid over here. Slide this stuff out. I'm gonna put my banjo down at the other end of my lathe. That's out of the way. All right, so this is the stuff I use. It's called Triple Thick Brilliant Brush On Gloss Glaze. You can buy it at Michael's. This is where I bought mine. It's made by Deco Art, who also makes the acrylic paints. Most of the acrylic paints I use. You can find it in the same aisle as the acrylic paints, but it's almost like a gel that goes on. But you should apply it with a foam brush, not with a paintbrush, because paintbrushes will leave lines in it. So this is a new jar. You want to replace this once it's open about every 6 months, because it will harden up and get goopy on you. So you can see it's kind of thick and white, but it goes on clear once it's dry. Just give it a little stir here. And we're just going to coat the walnut, not the inside though. Well, you can do the inside if you wanted, but I usually don't. I want part of it to look like it's made out of wood. So we're just going to give it a good coat. Don't be shy with this stuff. And it takes a couple coats before the glaze really shows itself as, looks like it was fired in an oven. I'm just getting that walnut on the inside. And you can dry it using a blow dryer or a heat gun at the lowest setting. Or you can just set it aside. You don't need to use anything to dry it if you don't want to. The reason why this is why I wanted to use it on the lathe, because I'm able to spin this a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell it's getting slick. I can tell from the brush it's getting slick. I'm wiping it on. That means we're getting a good coat on there. the first coat, when you're first applying it, it feels like it, you know, a little hesitant when it's going on. But once you start getting a thicker coat, it flows a little easier onto the piece. You can see the shine starting to show up on it. You know, we can just keep, you know, working our way around with it. Make sure you don't have any drips or runs or anything if you can help it.
How many coats do you generally use?
It all depends on the paint, how many coats of paint you put on it. Usually 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to let it dry in between each one.
Right.
I'm going to speed that up with this. I've never really used the heat gun on it. So this is going to be an experiment for both of us, or all of us.
Well, I guess you could spin it very slowly as well.
Oh yeah, I'm going to turn on the lathe while I use the heat gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That way it gets a more even, you know, coat. So we're going to stop right there. I'm going to put the lid back on because I don't want that heat gun any heat to get down into that jar. So I'm going to put the lid back on and put the jar to the side. I don't want to take any chances of that heat drying out that stuff. So I'm going to turn on my lathe real slow. Slow as I can get it. There we go. Turn down the heat. We're just going to see what happens on this one. Usually I just set them aside, let them dry overnight, then apply another one, and another one. If you get enough coats on it, let me show you something. I just let that keep spinning. You get enough coat, if you feel your coats are thick enough, and you really wanted to get it really polished looking, I use this. It's Yorkshire Grit. It's the microfine abrasive paste, not the original brown. This is white. This is a polishing compound. And it's a wax, but it's got very, very fine micro abrasive mixed in with it. And it'll actually polish it up. It'll give it a smoother texture. And if it's got any like small brush strokes or any little bits of high spots or anything, that will smooth everything out. And I've done a lot of scorching on my work. I haven't not for a little while, but I've done a lot in the past.
Yeah, well, you get into a routine, and you just see different things, and you do it for a while until it's boring, and then you go on to something new.
No, that's not boring. It's just my interest. We go somewhere else, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. I should have said it that way. And this is one of my favorites. It's black with a green metallic and I guess there's a gold in there as well. And you just keep fiddling around until you're happy with the results, and
how it looks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't cover it with anything. It seems to be okay the way it is. So
yeah,
that's my 2 cents on that, Scott.
Okay.
As I said, I'll take them to my the wood turning group I belong to, Cascade Wood Turners. And
where are you? Are you in Portland?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll take it to my ceramics class as well, and then because I'll make them in ceramic and wood. And,
okay.
And then just ask people which is which. And
try to let them guess, right?
And then my wife, of course, says, "Why are you making them? They all look the same." I said, "Well, that's the idea."
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So I also did some segmenting wood, and I try
see.
to replicate that in also in ceramic. And
See, I never got into doing any. What you saw me to do today with the
yeah,
2 pieces, that's as far as segmenting I go.
well,
That's about it.
yeah, I had a fellow who was teaching me back in Ohio, in Toledo, and he was an engineer and said, "Let's try this segmenting stuff." I said, "Sure."
You know what? If you talk to most segmenters, you
Yeah,
ask them what's your job or what did you retire from? They say, I was an engineer.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Uh, they all gravitate towards that
yeah,
because of the difficulty and the math and all of that.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I was an administrator, hospital administrator all my life, and I had the engineers tell me the sizes.
All right. So this is probably going to be the last coat of this I put on here today,
Yeah.
just so we can get the show done. We've been doing it. We've been, what, 5 hours? This is the longest demo I've ever done. Last week's was only 2.5 hours. So
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
But, I had a couple of mishaps with the cameras and the with the chucks and some of the
Well,
stuff just didn't gel right, but
yeah,
I got through it.
you
That's the
did.
main.
Well, stuff happens all the time.
Oh
So
yeah.
gotta be
Oh, believe me, you've done enough of these, you realize that you can't control everything.
right.
And if it's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong during a live demonstration. Believe me, I know. All right, so we got a pretty good shine on this one.
Yeah. And that's not
Like I said,
when that fully dries, is that gonna stay the same?
oh yeah, it
Wow.
will. But what I would do is, like I mentioned before, I put like 2 more coats on, and then I'd use that microfine abrasive polishing paste on it,
Yeah.
and it just polishes it to a glass, just like it would be a glass
Yeah.
almost. Okay, so it's still a little wet, so I'm just gonna let it spin.
Sure. Don't ruin it.
No, but I'm gonna stop it there and just let that run for a couple hours and come back and see how it's doing. All right, folks. Well, thanks for those who stuck around. Appreciate you guys supporting my live demos. I'm going to be a demonstrator at SWAT in August. I'm going to show how to make an erosion bowl. And I'm thinking about doing that for one of my live demos before then, just as sort of like a test, because I got to do it in an hour and a half there. So I'll do it in steps there, but I just want to make sure I got everything worked out. So anybody that signs up for that will be my guinea pigs. So that'll probably be early August I do that one, because it's closer to the symposium there. I'll also be at the AEW symposium. Oh wow, it's less than a week. My goodness, I leave on Wednesday morning, head up to Portland. Yes, I'm driving to Portland.
Okay, see you there.
And I'll be a videographer. So I appreciate y'all coming in today. I hope you guys, besides the little mishaps here and there and everywhere today, that you guys enjoyed the demo as much as I did. We worked through it, which I'm glad we were able to do. You guys stuck it out with me, and I was really happy about that. And hopefully I'll see you either at one of the symposiums or back here in my shop. I can see all of you like you're just right here in my shop with me, which is really fun because I can talk with you and everything. So does anybody have any more questions?
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah, I think you need to burn some sage in your shop there to get rid of those gremlins.
I know. I do. I definitely do. Because I had quite a few gremlins today. Those little boogers, man. Everything was going great. My cameras were running great. Turn it on, go click, live, boom. Gremlins went, hey, let's have some fun with this guy today.
All right, Scott, I'm
Yeah.
going to booger off.
I appreciate it, Dane.
We'll
Thank
talk
you
to y'all
so much
later.
for your help.
Okay,
I'll
thank
talk-
you.
Hey.
Thank you. Thanks, Dane.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.